County Treasurer to present a program called Fix-It Funds. So it's pretty informal. You'll just kind of be speaking to us, so
Sure.
you don't need a formal introduction or anything. So thanks for coming, buddy.
Thank you for having me here this evening. Deputy Treasurer Wallace passed out a little brochure that explains this particular program. This is unique to Stark County from the standpoint that we have never done this before here. It is a program authorized by the Stark County Commissioners. It is a Fix-It Fund home improvement program that is going to actually be undertaken through the Stark County Treasury in partnership with 3 of our banks that we have depository agreements with. And it is a linked-in deposit program that we're permitted to do by Ohio Revised Code. And the example that I took from, because we have other counties throughout the state of Ohio that implemented this program and have been successful at it. The one that I chose to model this after was out of Medina County. John Burke is a treasurer up there, and he's been doing this for over 20 years now. They have loaned out over $13.3 million, and 936 residents or owner-occupied structures have seen their values increase. So it definitely works. The program, in a nutshell, is very simple. There are 2 qualifiers that you have to meet here with the treasurer's office. First and foremost is your building value only must be $250,000 in value or less according to the Stark County Auditor's valuation. So, with that being said, 96.9% of Stark County homeowner occupied structures potentially qualify just under that statistic, that particular qualifier. Where we get you on the second qualifier is you got to be current on your real estate taxes. Fortunately, not 96.9% of the Stark County residents are paying.
What's the percentage?
92% of
Are
people
paying.
are paying, yeah, on time, current. Not bad.
That's
No,
not good.
that's pretty good percentage.
Yeah, you know, we try to work with everybody.
We'd like those both to be the same.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I'd have a really good track record there. But anyways, what's going to happen here is the folks, once they get through our application process, the next step is they then have to fill out the application with the bank. And why do they have to do that? Because really, it's all going to be based on their credit worthiness. The credit worthiness of that individual will help determine whether or not they can qualify for up to 2% less the going rate with the bank in terms of a loan. So, based on their credit worthiness, they could get up to 2% off that particular loan. What are they going to use that loan for? The loans are going to be at a minimum $5,000, and as the maximum is $50,000. So the projects that would qualify, you have some interior projects and some exterior projects. Those interior projects could be a bathroom remodel, a kitchen remodel. You want to put on new windows, siding, a roof, redo your basement. Those would be qualifying projects with the home. In terms of exterior work, if you had to replace a water line or a sewer line, those would be qualifying projects. I know, Scott, you talked about wanting to do a pool. However, that would not qualify. That would be a luxury item.
That was prior to the auditor's tax revaluation.
That's true, I forgot about that piece.
Well, don't worry, once I win that one, I'll come talk to you.
Still
I
can't.
think you probably still can't qualify. Yours is 250. Anyways, we talked about the minimum of 5,000 to maximum 50,000 in terms of the loan amounts. There is no maximum limit on the borrower's income. So the reason we put that in there is, and this is interesting, I'm sure you guys are aware, through a regional planning commission, they have the community development block grant funding, but there is a income threshold there. You have to have a minimum of $40,000 in order to qualify for that particular program. So we've stripped that issue out of here. This is actually going to help out lots of folks in the townships and perhaps maybe in some of the municipalities so to help them qualify for this program. Then again, they must have their real estate tax payments must be current with us. There are the 3 banks are First Commonwealth, Westfield Bank, and Farmers National Bank. These are the three banks that have agreed to work with our office with this program. And Deputy Treasurer Wallace, with my office, will be running it out of the Treasurer's office. His contact information is on the back of this brochure. And each one of those banks' representatives' contact information is inside this brochure. So they are aware of the program, and those contact agents are, you can contact them directly, or you can contact Jim Wallace. If there are residents in the township that you want to make this program aware of their potential needs, please do so. This information is on our website. You can find the actual brochure has been scanned in as well, so they can get that. And you can direct them to our website to potentially apply for the program and see if they qualify from the banks. And certainly you'll know real quick with our office from the current, whether you're current on your real estate payments and also on the valuation, because that information is public.
So essentially, you'll do the pre-check and then it goes through to the
Yep.
contacts.
That's exactly
the
right.
application.
Try to streamline it. It is first come, first served. We have been authorized to put up to $5 million with the three banks. In terms of our overall portfolio, we have a portfolio that at any point in time can have up to $250 million in it that is being invested on behalf of the county. But the interest that I would normally get from this is what's we're foregoing, and that's going to be made available to loan out by these banks. Our money is not in jeopardy. None of it is going to be on the hook. It's all safe. It's invested with the bank. It's the bank's money that's going to be loaned out. Ultimately, they're liable for everything, not us. Pretty cool program.
Yeah, really good.
Wow.
Could someone be, let's say August, I want to do new gutter. Let's say early in my mind, I'm gonna wait till August. Can you go and get pre-approved even though, and then let's say August comes and you don't decide to do it, but can you be pre-approved in case something in your family would happen and you're already,
Yes, yeah, you brought up a good point, and I forgot to mention this. The program is designed to run every year for the next 5 years, from starting this year, April 1 through July 31st. So, in that window of time, you determine whether or not you're qualified, you make it through the bank application, you get approved, you then have up to 1 year to expend those potential loan amounts. So you can defer the project into the next year, and you could have your gutters done, instead of in 19, you get them done in
that's
2020.
really nice, that's really
Yeah.
nice.
Now, you have to keep your receipts, because that ultimately will come back to the treasurer's office and also the bank. There will have to be a licensed contractor, and they must meet the community zoning and compliance. So we know that with the county, you're gonna be going through our county, probably chief building official, and also your local compliance, if there's property or zoning issues that you gotta deal with. So you can put on patio, you can put on, redo the deck, you could enhance the house if you wanted to put on extension and you were approved for that. So those are all potential qualifying projects. The luxury item are, those will not be, I mean, the hot tub or the pool or putting on a dish to capture whatever channels that you're gonna watch. Any other questions? If not,
Really,
Nice program.
this is really nice.
What's the current rate right now? for-
right now, I saw them at 4.25%. So you could potentially knock off 2 points, depending on your credit worthiness. And you could lock that in. The terms, you lock those in with the bank. We don't get involved in that. So it could be 5 years you lock in the term. It could be, whatever, I don't know what your projects are gonna be, but like a $50,000 loan is gonna be paid off in 5 years. It'll probably be longer. But our intention is to get this thing started, get it rolling, and we're gonna, of course, keep track of it. The idea ultimately is to keep this going like what Treasurer Burke's done up in Medina. And he did tell me, he said it took him a couple years. The reason that we're going out and doing these visits to the townships or the municipalities and the villages is to make everybody aware of this. We do have press releases. They did a great job in talking about this last year in October. But this is really a program we want to see touted, and hopefully folks take advantage of it. If we do loan out the maximum amount of money that ultimately is going to be generated by the $5 million, as those loans get paid off, it frees them up. And that's what John Burke's been doing over the last 20 years up in Medina.
Free for all it.
Could you use this, let's say I do my gutters.
Mhm.
Gutters are paid off in 3 months. I paid my loan. Now I decided, wow, I need a new roof. Am I still in the same program?
Yes, bundle it. You could
Bundle
bundle,
it?
you can bundle the projects together, or if you're doing $5,000 worth, remember, there's a minimum loan amount of 5 and a maximum of 50. So you probably want to get the estimates for both of those projects, or maybe 3 projects, get them all in there and see what ultimately they come out at with your bids. Because the contractor, you're gonna probably want to get 1 or 2, maybe 3 bids to make sure that they're being honest with you. And also do your homework, make sure that they're a recognized contractor. And they haven't, you don't want to get what we call a fly-by-night guy or gal.
Right. Okay. Great program. Very good program.
All right. Thank you all very much for your
Oh,
time.
Thank you very much,
Yeah,
thanks.
Thank you, thank you.
Any other questions or anything before they go? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Stay dry.
Appreciate
Oh, yeah.
it. Great job.
Take care, guys.
All right.
Meeting to order, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome. We have the agenda before us. Does anybody have any additions, corrections, deletions from the agenda?
Just a couple things there.
Okay.
Concerns of trustees. Updates.
Was it just update, you said?
Yeah, they're simple, 3 quick, simple.
All right. Eric, you have anything? No. Tom, you have anything?
No.
Okay, the agenda will stand with the edited version. And the first thing, new business, number 1, we have a resolution, be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to authorize an approved payment for 2 2019 Ford F-350 pickup trucks from Wacom, not to exceed $55,000, Fund 01, B as in Bravo, 06A. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded, discussion. This is,
Sure, these are 2 vehicles that we have asked Joe to help us solicit a quote from Wacom, because we have 2 of our 07 pickup trucks actually are simultaneously down as we speak. One's getting a transmission rebuilt, the other has some battery issues, and logic says 10 years or 100,000, especially in the work that they do. So it's just time to replace them. They're getting toward the end of their lifespan here.
so, and in addition to that, based on how we price those out, we set it up because of the short, or the small amount of money that to move from a 250 to a 350.
Correct, and we are actually replacing 350, so it was real convenient that the pricing was negligible. I think it was less than $1,200 per vehicle to step up to the 350. And then when we get them in, or able to start getting them outfitted, we'll look at getting some aluminum dump beds for them as opposed to the stainless steel, because I think as we all saw in some of these older ones, the stainless steel rusts, and with our vehicles sitting outside with no place to house them, it's better to have an aluminum bed.
Okay, anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Need to abstain.
Item number 2, Ohio Township Association Winter Conference. I think this was an issue that we had 7 people that attended that conference and attended a variety of workshops. We try our best to not duplicate, so it probably would be worth our while if even on a work session that we simply got together and each person made the Reader's Digest version of what it was that went on there, because I think we all found some very interesting facts and some legal issues that, you know, like all those conferences we go to, we find out things that we're certainly doing right, and those things that we're like, wow, we didn't know that. Let's research it a little more to make sure we're on top of it. And, you know, in this particular case, we were able to spread out. So You know, there were a lot of good workshop issues regarding labor issues, funding issues. So, you know, we discussed, you know, how possibly do we want to do that, we make that presentation?
Take action on the candidate takeaways.
Absolutely, so we can incorporate them in our operation as well. I know, and some, even though we didn't go together because there were duplicates of some, we did go to the same presentation that were held on different days, and you know, we each picked up something as well. So, how do you guys feel about that? Do you want to
I'd
do
like to get it done at the next meeting if possible, that way it's still relatively
work session at the
Right.
beginning?
fresh. That's
So
fine.
if you made notes, you know, just bring your packets that were distributed as a part of the handouts, and, you know, we don't, just the quick hitter things, so that, you know, we have an idea of what's going on. And, all right, I like that. Okay, that takes us to new business number 3. Be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to approve and authorize payment to various vendors from this blanket purchase order for equipment purchased for the 2019-2020 sheriff cruisers in an amount of $60,000 from Fund 09A07.
So move.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
New business number 4 is, be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to enter into an agreement with Stark County Regional Planning Commission for the purpose of updating the township's mini master plan and to authorize payment not to exceed $20,400 from Fund 01M03B per the attached contract.
I will so
I'll
move.
second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
I think this is definitely the right time to move this forward. I remember all the way when I ran for trustee, it was actually one of the things, you know, hey, let's get a new master plan. We're 7 years into it, and given, you know, market factors and other, just combination of things, we've really accomplished a majority of the plan, and some of those variables that may not have been accomplished will not be because of how things have moved forward. But when you take a look at the cost, we're not even 10% more than what it was 10 years ago. And the fact that they're gonna do some electronic surveying to help grab more feedback from our community, so we can make sure this is as thorough of a planning tool as possible. I think this is very reasonable, especially when you compare it to some of these university-sponsored ones where, you know, I think North Canton had one done within the last 5 years, and I think it was somewhere, granted this $20,000 range, I think it was 60 to 80 grand that they had in theirs. And, you know, with what regional planning's expertise, they definitely know Stark County inside and out and have access to the tools to help pull those other elements in that we need to be looking at for the benefit of the long-term well-being of the community.
I would agree. This will be my 3rd one that I was directly involved in. The first two were as fire chief, and I know I was seeing the difference of what we got from the first one that we did with an outside consulting company compared to the second one that actually was also done by regional planning. They were worlds apart, and the amount of money that we spent were worlds apart. It's my personal belief that we're dealing with regional planning, who are those people that understand what is going on locally. So I think by having them do this and fitting what we're going to do to grow here and what our future outlook is as it incorporates in the county plan only makes more sense to me. It just kind of surprises me that local political subdivisions want to go outside to get a mini master plan done by outside people who are basing that off of what might be going on 3 states away. And it just doesn't make sense to me. So they did a great job for us the last time. We've had a couple meetings with them, talked about what it is that we want to do with it. And I would agree, I think we're ready, again, to update it.
I think the most important piece is it's a guiding tool for whoever's on this board, whether it's the 3 of us or anybody in the future, so it's not a bunch of knee-jerk reactions, oh, well, this sounds good, this sounds good. But then when you piece it all together, it looks like a disfigured, puzzle that's not to the benefit of the overall community, no matter what facet it is. So it's a good measuring stick for, hey, are the folks on our team doing what we put them there to do? And
I agree. Anything else?
Yeah, I agree with both of you. It's just good to our residents, and like Scott said, it's a tool. It's been 7 years. We, in good faith, are showing our residents that it's a tool that can be used, and why not have an updated one? So I think I'm 100% for it.
Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes. Item number 5, liquid de-icing. I'll just start this off. There is a process that is commonly used in de-icing throughout our entire country, and Ohio has kind of established one of those where we are seeing more and more complementing the actual application of pure salt with liquid de-icing material. And it was brought to our attention that there is a product on the market that is being questioned right now based on some studies that were being done. And we did have a question from a resident regarding what we are actually using in conjunction with our salt application. And I would like to go on record to say that we are not using that product in question. And maybe our road superintendent can explain a little bit about the product that we are using that is certainly not that product being used in some other places right now.
Yeah, Mr. Sabo. Back in 2013, when we all decided that we were going to look into maybe cost savings, better for our roads, better, the whole ball of wax, we did a lot of research on what product we thought we would use. One of our main goals was to be environmental friendly. At the end of all that, that's why we chose from K-Tech, it's called B-Heat, it's a de-icer product. It does not contain brine sourced from old wells, does not contain chemical erosion inhibitors. It uses natural sugars to inhibit corrosion values, not chemicals. And that was a big thing for me personally, and I'm sure the board. We go to classes and we learn, and they're pushing this liquid more than they are salt these days. I have all the, I've created a packet for you. You guys can look through when you get time. This is a very safe product for what we are using. There's advanced laboratories in the Pacific Northwest Snow Fighters, and they've all tested this, and there's no problems with it. So I'm very comfortable saying that we're not we've never used the one that is in question, and the one we are using is a safe product. So.
Thanks, Joe. Anything to add?
I think it just goes to reinforce the thorough investigation we typically do on any new service or solution implementation, so hopefully this will help quell the fears.
And I think actually you can see technology, all you had to do was walk around that floor down there at the Township Association Conference, and you could see the trucks that were actually on display there all had dual abilities, and they had tanks and beds. So they actually shrunk the beds that would have the material that would be put on the road, whether it was sand or salt or whatever, But in addition to that, incorporating the ability to have some type of liquid application as well. So, I think you
And
could.
the liquid we use mixed with the salt is the bead heat liquid.
Mhm.
The liquid we use in our brine truck, which we just put into service this year, is made from ODOT, right here on 62. It is 6 times less than any limit that was put on by the EPA. And it's just salt and water, it's just a mix of salt and
Mhm.
water.
Correct.
So those are two different formulas of the liquid that we are using today. And we haven't used a lot of that recently because we keep getting rain before we get snow, and the road's gotta be dry, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
but, and that does serve a great purpose too, it keeps the snow from, ice from sticking, so. Making our roads a lot safer.
thanks, Joe, I appreciate all your work in, looking at that, taking all that stuff, into consideration, because, again, we wanna make sure we're complying with everything, but, I think we made the right choice there. All right, that takes us to fiscal officer's report. Mr. Wolf?
Thank you. Fiscal Officer number 1 is a request for resolution to authorize the payment of pending warrants in the amount of $320,192.75.
So moved.
Second's been moved and seconded, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 2 is a request for resolution to authorize payment of regular payroll in an amount not to exceed $250,000.
I'll move on, fiscal officer number 2.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 3 is a request for resolution to authorize the following medical claims.
So moved.
Second's been moved and seconded, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 4 is the financial report for January 2019. If anyone has any questions, I'm available after the meeting. Fiscal Officer number 5 is a request for resolution to authorize the following transfers.
So moved.
Second's been moved and seconded, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 6 is a request for resolution to authorize a refund as follows for overpayments for EMS as requested by Ohio Billing.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 7 is a liquor license request from MT Drive-Thru LLC located at 3827 Cleveland Avenue, Canton, Ohio 44709.
Let me see
We didn't receive anything back
No.
from
I
them.
don't think,
here. Now.
what business is that?
I think it's the drive-through.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's it,
yeah,
drive-through,
yeah,
yes,
it's-
yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's
There you go.
it's the old firehouse drive.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, right beside the
Yeah.
BP there.
yeah.
Okay, I think we have not heard anything regarding that one, so I think,
Safe to let it move
yes,
forward.
let's move forward with that one.
Okay, and Fiscal Officer number 8 is a liquor license request from L.
Garibaldi.
Garibaldi LLC, located at 2682 Easton Street, Northeast, Canton, Ohio, 44721.
So I don't think there's anything specific regarding that, so I would say that we should move forward with that one as well.
Okay,
That was just right over here.
Yep, it's the new one going in.
Yep.
Okay, that takes us to the administrator. And, let me see here. The first one is payment to Thano Electric. Be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to approve and authorize payment to Thano Electric LLC for labor and materials for 2 electric services installed at Diamond Parking Lot. Security cameras, $4,800 from Fund 01B-02, and I will move on that.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, discussion. That was for the camera work, right?
Yes, so the poles were planted the week prior, and he put the 2 meter bases, the sub panels, ran the masts up, the electrical circuit then up to the top of the pole, about 20-ish odd feet, and he did that on both the north parking lot and the south end of that west parking lot. And AEP was actually out, it's already tied in, meter bases are set, we're live with power, and the camera should be going up this Thursday, weather permitting on that, and that project will be closed.
Good. Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Administrator number 2, be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to authorize payment to Earth and Wood for hauling of yard waste in an amount not to exceed $14,210 to be paid from Fund 01A26Y.
So
I'll
moved.
second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. This is the final payment for this year.
For 18.
Yes, for 18.
For 18.
Yes. Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
And number 3, BWC Safety Conference, be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to authorize the trustees, fiscal officer, administrator, department heads, and IT safety director to attend the 2019 BWC Safety Conference in Columbus from March 5th to March 8th, and to authorize payment fee, lodging, reimbursement for food, mileage, and parking for those attending according to our travel policy to be paid from Fund 01A03, and I'll move on that.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. We will do with this one the same as we do with the OTA conference, those that go, and we get credit for this, by the way. Are you familiar with what it is that we actually get credit for?
For the BWC premium discount,
Okay, all right.
We actually participate in a couple, I think.
Yeah, so, and we'll do the same with that, you know, for those that attend. And we do the same thing, we kind of divide and conquer, where we look at who's going to what, so that we're getting the biggest bang for our buck. So, anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Okay, that then takes us to the Fire Department Chief Schaumburg.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to authorize purchase and payment to B&C Communications for upgrading, programming, and tuning of 800 radios for the MARC system, the amount not to exceed $4,000, to be taken from Fund 21A02I.
So moved.
Second, it's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Okay, item number 2, resolution by the Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to authorize purchase and payment for one RIT pack assembly for 4,500 PSI unit to Bourne Fire Equipment, the amount not to exceed $3,000 from Fund 10A08.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion.
We have one that's about 12 years old from the original ones. We had some parts break in it, cannot get parts to service it. So basically, I had to do assembly. And we did buy the kit to make it to go forward with any upgrades from Scott, and also use it for what we have now. So, just unfortunately, the technology we outlasted the technology, I guess, so now we're can't get parts for it. So.
Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Yes, item number 3 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to accept the resignation of Christopher Palmieri as a Plain Township part-time firefighter paramedic effective January 28, 2019.
So moved.
Second, it's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 4 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees for the removal, repair, or securing of a building, and the address is 2355 48th Street Northeast, Plain Township. And we're working with zoning to establish that resolution, and we have pictures and obviously the Stark County Building Department notes.
Oh, that's that old barn there, yeah.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Discussion. Been moved and seconded, discussion. So it appears like we have some collaboration and cooperation with the building department. So this one looks fairly easy, just a matter of technicality.
Yes, and we're actually working, the zoning department and fire, back to the owners to try to see if they'll dismantle it themselves.
Sure.
They kind of stalled a little bit there, so we have to do something to try to get that building secured and torn out.
Okay. Yeah. That kind of sits in the back.
Yeah.
It's way back there, yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Too bad that wouldn't kept.
Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And that concludes fire department, thank you.
Thanks, Chuck. That now takes us to the road department, Mr. Icino.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I only have one item tonight, and that's a resolution by the Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to authorize the purchase, installation, and training of Build-A-Form engineering report system software for the road department from the Morph Corporation, not to exceed $2,880 for 1 year.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Discussion?
This is actually something Joe and I met, has it been 2 months? Maybe 2 months?
Yeah, probably 2 months ago.
Approximately 2 months ago. It was something that somebody approached me about, so.
It actually
It's a good-
started,
it's a good
the
tool.
company that approached Scott was called QCI. They wanted to come see if they could do our inspections for us. Well, once we started talking, he started explaining how this software program, that we can actually do our own and use the software program.
Yes.
So this is like a subsidiary of the QCI. It's everything we're doing with paper now that we could actually do electronically. And, we got folders and it's just crazy to keep all this stuff on hand. So now it'll be kept on a computer. And Eric has been involved with this the whole time. If he has anything that he wants to add, we're gonna meet next week and start training.
We did the same thing with the Parks Department, we did the same thing with zoning, with fire, we've moved away from the inefficient paper trails and that, and this actually looks like a good program to do exactly what it is that they're doing on a regular basis out there on the project inspections.
And we got 3 licenses right now, and Eric's gonna be able to monitor everything and be part of the training hopefully next week, so.
What would happen if you lost it?
It's actually,
Multi-redundancy.
and it's cloud-based, so you actually sign in and they host the data. Similar to the system that we're using with the parks operation, and zoning, and fire, they're all
So they'll
cloud-based.
all be taken care of in the field instead of trying to
Write it
write
down,
your
come
notes
back.
and coming back and forgetting. Everything can be done
Smart.
right down on the spot when we're doing paving or.
So I mean, they can essentially take a tablet, snap photos, enter notes,
So we're
whether
gonna
it's
go,
online or offline.
we're gonna go with an iPad.
And
We've made that decision, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we made that decision.
We throw the BS flag on that one.
All right,
That's a
anything
good tool,
else?
good tool.
Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. We have nothing from zoning. That takes us to parks. Mr. Steinberg.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution for the Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize payment to Terry's Truck and Trailer in the amount of $5,200.50 to be taken from 01B06 for a salt spreader for the parks.
So moved.
Second's been moved and seconded. Discussion?
This is to replace a smaller salt spreader that has, again, outlived its usage, and we were in desperate need of it this year, so a lot of the ice we've been encountering.
And this one you can load.
We are,
with the
but we are
load.
bucket
You don't
loading
have
it.
to hand load.
That is correct. It gets loaded onto the back of the 1-ton hand-me-down. Thank you again, Joe, for that. And as opposed to making trips back and forth to each building, we can make it around each building with just the one load, which is much more efficient.
Nice, nice,
Safer on the guys to be out in those conditions.
nice.
Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 2 is simply a housekeeping item. Wanted to remind folks of the Parks Levy Town Hall will be hosting at Avondale School Tuesday, February 19th from 6 to 9. We have information on the funding, what its needs are, where the funding goes, what it looks like, and what we would envision the future looking like as well.
Okay.
Thank you. Item number 3 is simply a reminder to folks in the community. We are always looking for community sponsors for things like the Egg Hunt, Farmers Market, Winterfest, Salute to Veterans. I can be contacted directly at my office line here at Township Hall at 330-244-8473. We have the ability to customize a package for you that fits, that adds value to both the township as well as the corporate entity taking part in the activity. And we're willing to work with you to see what works best for all. Outside of that, just a simple, I'm going to beat Eric to the punch here. I'm going to give Joe a simple thank you for his guys helping out with the bucket truck and inserting those poles for the Diamond Park cameras. It's long overdue, much needed, and we're certainly thankful to have them. I can watch them here on my tablet 24 hours a day, and typically peek in a few times a day in the evening and check in on things.
Okay.
We didn't knock out my mailbox yet, so.
Move closer, we'll take care of this.
All right, that takes us to IT report.
Is Tommy here?
Yeah. No, he left. You want me to read this resolution?
You'll have to, sir.
Be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to authorize the purchase of 3 mobile data terminals for the sheriff vehicles in an amount not to exceed $2,390 and authorize payment from Fund 09A07. And I'll move for this resolution.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Those are the same MDTs that the sheriff's office has been distributing to all of their cruisers in the county. We've been complying with the same, we just have the same company spec out the same items. I believe that puts us up to 12, which is pretty close to the amount of cars I believe that we have on the street. And we acquire from the same location, which is a refurbished MDT. So it's a ruggedized Panasonic Toughbook, but significantly less cost than a new outfitted unit would be.
Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
And number 2.
That second item was what Rob had mentioned, was just an appreciation to the road department. They got the bucket truck out for us to get our electrician up, where he needed to operate, so he wasn't operating off a ground ladder. Obviously stood by and made sure that we didn't have any issues. On site, I wasn't able to be there during that duration of time, so again, thanks to the road guys.
You're welcome.
Thanks again,
Very
Joe.
nice.
Joe and his crew.
Good job,
Very
as
nice.
always. Good collaboration. Okay, nothing from the law director communications. We do have a thank you from Operation Gratitude. It's a pretty lengthy letter. I don't think we want to read it in its entirety. It'll just be submitted into the record as the first one. And the second one, kind of along the same lines, says a thank you on behalf of the Board of Community Christmas of Stark County for our participation in the COAT program.
Very nice.
Okay, that takes us to the part of the meeting of public speaks. If there's anyone in the audience that wishes to address the board at this time, please give your name and address to the fiscal officer, and then you can speak from back there if you want, or you can come up here, whatever you feel comfortable with.
My name is Susan Beatty, and you need my address.
Yes.
6144 Woodcrest, one word, Avenue Northeast, 44721.
Thank you.
Honorable trustees, This is the third time I've come before you with a serious problem of speeding in the McDowell Estates neighborhood. This time I've prepared a statement in the hopes that my complaint will be taken more serious. I present you with a petition of over 50 names. And addresses of people in my neighborhood who are concerned about speeding and dismayed that nothing has been done. The past 2 times I have presented this problem, I was told the sheriff would make better attempts to run radar. To my knowledge, not one ticket has been issued, nor have any patrol cars been seen sitting in my neighborhood. I was also told that the speed buggy would be included, and I've only seen it once in the past 9 months. It's apparent to everyone who drives around that there are hot spots in North Canton where you'd better slow down due to a random police car running radar. There are also numerous electric speed poles that tell you how fast you're going. Unfortunately, this is not the case in my neighborhood. The 50 signatures here represent only a fraction of the people in my neighborhood who see this as an ongoing problem that has never been addressed satisfactorily. This petition is not only for the households who live there, but for the literally hundreds of people who walk through my neighborhood to get to the Stark County walking path. I heard some interesting stories as I collected these signatures. Many told me they have called the sheriff to complain. But sadly, many also told me it was a good thing that it was a beautiful day that I was collecting these to be out because nothing would be done. I pray that this is not the case. I have called ODOT, who says the problem is in your jurisdiction and you have the power to change it. I am aware that this is the 5th biggest township in the state of Ohio and that police are stretched thin with crimes, traffic accidents, etc. But I'm also aware that there are numerous downtimes in an officer's day when he could be sitting in my neighborhood running some radar. Please address this ongoing problem and prove to the community that you are neither ineffective nor uncaring.
Well, I'm gonna take first poke at this. First and foremost, ineffective or uncaring, I take direct offense to this Board of Trustees actually went above and beyond in coming to the public and requesting the financial resources which the community has provided. And actually, we've got Lieutenant Carver in the back from the sheriff's office. He is he's taken over just within what, the last four months, 6 months? Since November. One, given the size and the proximity, the number of road miles that are in the township, and in relation to the number of bodies that are on the street, you're gonna be hard pressed to find anybody sitting in any of these cruisers unoccupied with nothing to do. The statistical facts of the matter, based upon the monthly reporting data that they provide, is our number of ticketing has went up year over year the last 3 years. So that tells this board and the community that there is more engagement, there's more activity. And actually, it's because of the relationship with the Stark County Sheriff's Department that not only are we maximizing their resources, but because of the relationship that Sheriff Meyer has with the OSP, we've actually gotten significant additional coverage by the OSP over the time since he's been in office. And I know for a fact the month of February, there was an article in the Canton Depository, I want to say last week, where they've talked about additional coverage. The unfortunate aspect is whether it's Plain Township, it's North Canton, it's Paris Township, it's the city of Canton, speeding is a perpetual concern in absolutely every neighborhood. Are there some legitimate founded basis for it? Yes. Are there some unfounded basis or misperceptions of they're going 45 in here? We've set speed trailers throughout the township at different requests, and honestly, Joe can't hardly keep it over at the road department long enough, but to maybe get it maintenance because of the number of requests that come in. Every one of those reports tracks the volume, it tracks the speeds, it provides reporting that talks to when the optimal times are. And Joe, and I hate to put you on the spot, Lieutenant Carver, the reality is when we take a look at the speed metrics, actually 90% of the people are within the speed limit. Are there a couple outliers? Yeah, there's a couple on the low end. There tends to be a couple on the high end too, and unfortunately the high ones are the high. But it's not practical to sit a car on any street waiting for hours on end for that one speed.
I'm not saying that's the solution. I really
But
wish I knew.
here, unfortunately, the solution is, everybody wants more bodies in their area, but I can tell you, and this is just my opinion, it's not reflective of the board, I can tax you till you're blue in the face. We'd tax you till you're broke before we really have the number of bodies it would take to properly be able to combat that. I mean, Trustee Leno whether it's complaints, say Firestone, or we're up in Bobolink on Marcourt, I'm just talking some higher traffic ones. I've lived back in Laurel Ridge, dealing with complaints off of Pine Tree, coming back through there to even up along Bottler, Bentler. I mean, these inquiries have never fallen on deaf ears, and just because a cruiser's not always seen doesn't mean they're out. In fact, one of the things that the sheriff's office has always prided themselves on when these complaints come up, and I just dealt with it maybe 3 weeks ago, was over at Alpine and Pine Tree. Hey, we have a number of accidents that happen here. They went all the way back to 1999. There was one reported accident. And unfortunately, if the stuff's not reported, it doesn't exist for the sake of being able to act on it. Now, that's not saying that everybody's lying, but if it doesn't get reported, I can't tell you how often I see stuff on social media. Well, we saw some weird activity going on here behind our house, or it's speeding through, whether it's the school buses in the morning or in the afternoon, which that's been escalated on a couple of different occasions, over the years to the schools. When we put the resources out there, Joe gets the reporting, it goes right to the sheriff's office. Lieutenant Carver and his predecessor, Lieutenant Springer, provide that to those guys on the shift. So, as they go through, whether it's their night or during the day, okay, they've got to prioritize. Hey, we've got a burglary, we've got an accident. Those come. And then, okay, if there's a little bit of time, you will absolutely see them. Because I'll tell you, one of the best spots is right on Easton at the church. To the schools, to over off of it. Those are just a couple ones that are high and easy, but I don't know, Lieutenant Carver, is there anything you want to add to help maybe see how we can better address this?
I have to apologize
Miss
first.
Beatty? No.
No, because on my way here, I actually saw a cruiser in my neighborhood with his lights on, so obviously he pulled someone over. That's the first time. I've lived there for 5 years. I've never seen ever one with his lights on pulling someone over. I'm sorry, but it is kind of an ongoing problem. I mean, they come off of Market, and you know that. They just drive straight up McDowell like it's a NASCAR track.
I'll chime in just a little bit, just to illustrate, and I'm in the process of looking at 2018 statistics, just to look at those total numbers, just to give you an idea. In 2018, we handled over 14,000 calls in Plain Township, and there were about 3,000 traffic stops. We're probably somewhere close to 2,000 citations.
I am not saying you're not doing your job at all.
I don't want to give an indication that the guys are doing it. They are very busy. When we get the complaints such as yours that there's an issue in a neighborhood, we do put that out to our guys to try to focus on that. And like the trustee said, they try to prioritize the calls for service.
Absolutely.
And so it's not that we're ignoring it. I can tell you, I personally, on a regular basis, have driven through that area.
Yeah, but
So, I mean,
driving
there's
through is
cars
not
through
the
there.
say
Well, I use my radar is on. I activate the radar and use that. So it's not that we're not there. We can always strive to be there more for you and have more presence for you, but it's not that it's fallen on deaf ears and that we're
That
not
would be
there.
great, yeah. I mean, I totally understand you guys are stretched thin. That is not, and I would never say you're not doing your job, but isn't there something else we can do? I mean, do the speed poles work? Can we get the speed buggy back some, more regularly? I mean, one time in 9 months is not really very often.
Just that speed buggy was probably on 40 different streets in Lieutenant Carver, just emailed me last week for that number. We can definitely get it back out there, that's not a problem, and I'll put it out there tomorrow,
That would be great.
weather permitting.
Is there anything else though that can be done besides stretching our sheriff's department? I mean, you can't stick your head and say
That's what we
no.
can do. Just get a depth.
Trust me, I live in the same kind of neighborhood as you, and when I look at, what could be those things that we could get to possibly take some knucklehead and get them to slow down.
Well,
in a residential
intermittent
neighborhood,
police presence
and-
has shown to be a deterrent. And
I would agree with that, but I
Well-
think Scott said it as clear as any one of us can say. We don't have the resources to be able to sit in any one given neighborhood for an extended period of time, and randomly, we could do that. I think we could pick those patrols up. We would certainly take Lieutenant Carver's suggestions in terms of time of day, how can we go about doing that? But to have an absolute solution to that, it would mean more people being on the street watching that traffic. So,
Are traffic cameras completely out of the question, or?
We won't be,
I would say right now they are.
Cameras, yeah.
And
The ones North Canton that you brought to our attention, those aren't cameras.
No, I understand that, but
Those
they,
don't record
I
anybody's
understand
speed,
that, no,
that's just a
I understand
deterrent.
that, right.
Um,
But it is a deterrent. You see how
But,
fast you're going.
I don't know, I drive on
I
Apple
can
Road a
tell-
lot,
I can
and I
tell
see
you.
people speeding up.
Yeah,
on
I
those.
see.
And they do it with our speed buggy, they try to see how fast they can get that number up to. I mean, we have records of it. I mean, it's usually
Can we
the
shoot
people
them?
that actually live in your neighborhood are the people that
Oh,
are
I
actually
know,
speeding.
I know that,
It's
and
usually
we
the way
all
it
can
is.
point to who it is, you know? You can
Yes,
just
I
go.
mean,
You know,
Honestly, I can speak a little bit to the North Canton signs, because I know one of the county members over there has talked to him. One, Joe can vouch, those signs aren't cheap. And
No,
the initial, and not
They're
that
not
safety,
gonna stop
safety has a total price, but what they found was at first, when it went up, okay, it changed behavior for a little bit, but now that they've been up for a little bit, it's back to the same volume of complaints. So now, they've expended significant resources to post some of those. And, I know Joe's tried to investigate, and we've looked at some
we
traffic
look at
data
pricing, right.
on some stuff, and it's not just the pole, it's paying the utility companies to drop the lines to feed them, because unfortunately, on the solar functionality of some of them,
Doesn't
they're not, it's not.
Still need the power to it. And they
Yeah.
are not cheap. I'm gonna give you an
Oh,
example.
no, I'm sure they're
For
not.
A set of two, you're looking over $10,000.
Yeah.
Now, I know North Canton's been putting them on a lot of their streets, but for some reason.
And I apologize, because I can't remember the communication lieutenant that went back and forth. Was it you that the lieutenant was communicating back and forth with?
There was somebody from that neighborhood. I've
Yeah,
emailed the
and
last
I
couple of
apologize, I
days.
can't remember if it was
I'm
you.
sorry, what's your name?
Lieutenant Carver.
No, it was a different.
Okay, well, but we had somebody that we were communicating with from that neighborhood, because this was just, 2 weeks ago? Well, 2
Less
weeks
than that,
ago.
I think.
And it was the same issue, and I think you maybe just give her a little bit of what you, based on what the information was and what you said that we were gonna do within that neighborhood to try to rectify
So
something.
you're talking about my neighborhood?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely we are.
So we
Yeah.
put that information out to our guys. Hey, we need to get electric patrol. We try to give them a time window of the reports of when the problem is. And so it's one of the things that it's helpful from the people that call us with a complaint. We know the time of day, but also the speed trailer that the road department puts out. It documents times of day and it helps us to target our enforcement, because we can look at those numbers and say, yeah, it's definitely between 7 and 9 in the morning.
Right.
There's an obvious problem there. There's, 60 cars going through at these speeds. And from noon to 2, there's 5 cars went by.
Right,
It's not gonna pay for us to put somebody there for 2
right, at 1 in
hours,
the
5
afternoon,
hours.
I understand that.
Yeah. So we try to target things as much as we can. I don't want you to feel like we're not paying attention or
Oh,
putting
no.
people out there. And it is important to us, and it's always important to us to focus on that type of thing, and that, you know, you're paying your taxes, you're paying your share to have us out there and taking care of your problems, and we want to be there for you as well.
I don't understand why we can't do speed
I
bumps.
mean,
I really don't understand why speed bumps are not done.
We could not plow the road, that would slow down.
That would be a
They
nightmare.
plow in Chicago, why can't they plow
We,
here? There are speed bumps all over Chicago.
No, I say we can not plow the road, that'll
On
slow the
private
traffic
roads.
down if we don't plow them.
But
Private maintained roads.
Lieutenant, because I know our guys are busy.
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying.
on-
This is the fifth largest township.
You know, we do have 50, we have, what's it, 50 people in?
About 51
About
or
50.
52.
I mean, you know, we have our deputies sit out there, I know they go on call, they gotta go
Sure, I
and
understand.
do their thing, but they can come back, sit there again for a while, it can happen. I can tell you, I drive 90 miles a day, and I'm fed up with speeders. I live on Fulton Road, and
Oh,
I'm fed up with
that's terrible,
speeders.
Yeah.
You can't, Westmoreland, we must have had deputy sheriffs there continually for going on for months. I was passed on Westmoreland 3 weeks ago. There's just people who don't care. They speed everywhere. Route 21 in Massillon is 50 miles an hour, and they pass me and like I'm standing still. Today's younger generation and older, there's inconsiderate human beings that do not care, and they speed. I'm tired of it. I see it every day. So hopefully, the best that we can do, because you're here, and you're a resident, and you're crying for help, is, and Lieutenant is aware of it, is whenever we can, because they are busy, when they gotta go, but we'll do our best, Lieutenant, I know he will, to sit there and get as many as we can, and hopefully get a reputation of knowing that, are they there or not there today? And I always use the example on
Exactly.
hills and dales. Everybody goes slow there in front of Tamil Shannon, because there's always been a deputy there.
Exactly.
But he's not there all the time anymore,
Exactly.
but now, you're not sure if he's there.
Exactly.
And that's a reputation, be nice that we have,
That's-
but our guys, like Scott said, they're everywhere, these
Oh,
guys
I know
hustle.
that. Oh, I am,
But we're dealing,
I'm happy with the
it's just
sheriff's
sad, it is
department.
inconsiderate human beings,
Yeah.
they speed everywhere,
You're right,
it's awful.
you're right. And thank you for.
Well, and I think, and again, I'm just looking back at that email exchange, didn't you even talk about utilizing resource officers in that general area?
Yes, I've talked with the Plain local resource officers, because it seems like some of that issue relates to kids coming and going from school because of that area. And I've had some discussions with them, trying to have a little bit of visibility before and after school.
Yeah, those are definitely hot.
And also even just at the school level, trying to reach out to some of the kids at the school. Hey, this is a problem, you guys need to slow down and try to address it some way as well.
You guys are doing a great job. I will never say you're not. That is, not my complaint.
No, and I didn't take it that way. I didn't take it that way at all.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and, thanks for coming and, letting us know about this.
I guess I'll have to keep coming.
Some of the things that you want to think about, like, and again, the other person that communicated even talking about buses speeding.
Oh, I've
And,
seen buses speeding.
in that case, you would probably be better off at that point to contact the school district and
Complain about that.
transportation,
Absolutely.
because that's gonna be after the fact stuff. And, now we've got another connection that we can go with, so when I was shaking my head, I apologize. I didn't mean to offend you, but we are working on a lot of things that we're trying to do to help with that
I
problem.
know you are.
So,
And I wish I could come with a solution, I really do. I mean, other than a traffic cam that's gonna take pictures so that you don't have to use your resources, your manpower, and I don't know what that costs, I don't know. I mean, to me, that would be a great, revenue maker, that, I don't know how feasible that is.
Sure.
But that would certainly, could be an answer to some of these hot spots that seem to be real problem areas, because then as they go, they can go through as fast as they want, they're gonna get a ticket later, so.
and I do know one of the things that they always ask, and we hear this all the time, sometimes they can key into things if we're looking at day of the week, time of the day. So if they have a window that they can be looking at, then maybe it's that window where we see that activity pick up, that they might be able to focus on. We do know for sure, in that general area, we're talking school time.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah,
there are a
it
lot of
is.
people
Yeah.
who wanna,
Yeah.
that, you know, that's the shortest distance between 2
Oh,
points to
right, and
get.
they're cutting through. That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, or beat the traffic, so if the traffic's backed up, I can turn here and I can go there, and
Yes.
so that might help them. So, and do we have that information, right?
Yes,
Okay, good.
yes. I would just add, I think trustee Lino just
And
kind
if
of
there's
hit the nail
anything,
on
I
the
mean, if
head.
there's anything I can do, I mean, I'd be happy to help, but my
I was-
hands are kind of tied.
I was just throwing in, trustee Lino really hit the nail on the head. Speeding and traffic offenses has just become such a widespread problem that I could pull out of here and I won't go 10 feet and I can pull somebody over like that. And it's happening to all of our guys. And you have to make that decision, can I stop this car or do I need to go to this call for service? And it's just, it's all day long. It's a problem everywhere, but certainly we want to try to address what's going on in your
I
neighborhood.
appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. That takes us to concerns of trustees.
All right, guys, I just, a couple quick updates, reminder, next week, Stark County Township Association meeting. It's gonna be over at the Stark County Veteran Service Commission, which is located where the workshops are. So that, I happen to get a communication here from Charter Communications. I'll give it to Tom just for a record, but it says, following an internal corporate reorganization, Spectrum Mid-America LLC now holds the state-issued authority to operate the cable system in your community. Spectrum Mid-America is an indirect, wholly owned subsidiary of Charter Communications, Inc. There was no change in control. The cable franchise, there will be no change in the service your community receives from Charter. We look forward to continuing to serve your community. There's a phone number and email if we have any questions, so I didn't know. We got that. I think this is an important one. I know Judge Forshon's been leading this charge for a number of years, but essentially, you know, with the whole opioid epidemic and the fact that fatal drug overdoses are continuing to rise in Ohio, to a record number 4,854 last year, a 20% increase, even in spite of the efforts that are trying to be made. They're going to be doing Thursday, February 28th, 2019 from 6 to 8:30 at a free public event, with the message being themed 15 minutes can save a life. This is something for anybody who may have a friend, family member, coworker who's battling not just fentanyl, but any type of opiate drug. So again, Opioid Symposium, Thursday, February 28th, 6 to 8:30, Malone University, Johnson Center. 3 speakers, Judge Frank Forshon, Sarah Alton, and Keith Hogadell. Those were the updates that I had, just for the sake of the public.
Okay, that takes us to, thanks Scott, that takes us to the approval of the minutes for January 22nd.
I will so move.
I'll second, it's been moved and seconded, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
And we do have a need for an executive session, be it hereby resolved that Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to adjourn to executive session at 6:58. From this regular meeting on 2/12/19 is authorized under Ohio Revised Code 121.22G for the purpose of the consideration of 1A, appointment of a public employee or official, 1B, employment of a public employee or official, 1F, compensation of a public employee or official, and number 4, preparing for, conducting, or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.